everybody. I am so excited to be with you for the second episode now of our neurodiverse world. I'm very excited to have a guest. She has been on the Write or Die show already, and now she is here to talk with us a little bit more. So here we are. Hello, Katie Marie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for having me. And clearly, I just can't get enough of you.
Oh, thanks. And so I know you said it's evening there. Where are you again for those who didn't see your episode yet?
I am in Norfolk in the UK, in England specifically. The
Oh.
east part. The part of England that looks a bit like a butt that sticks out, that's where I am.
I'm geographically inept, so but now I have to go look up a picture of England to see which part of it looks like a butt because that sounds very interesting to me.
The little sticky out bit on the lower east side
Yeah.
of the
So
island.
give us a little quick about who you are and then we're gonna dive right in.
Cool, cool. So I'm Katie Marie. I am a massive horror nerd or enthusiast, as we like to be called. Sounds far more posh. Yes, I'm also a writer. I write short stories and I have written a novella, which is Man in Winter. I've also done, and I can never pronounce this word. I think it's like episode. I'm not even going to try because I will just make an ass of it. Um, the stories where they're told through finding reports and newspaper articles, like a found footage, but in a book.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
there is a
know.
word for it, I promise, but I'm not even going to try and say it because it's too hard.
I believe you, but I do not know the word, so I have no help.
That's fine.
But you know what word I do know that we're going to talk about today? See how I just rolled that in there? We're
That's
going to
good.
be talking about dyslexia. So, for those of you who don't know what it is, the definition from the Mayo Clinic, and then we're going to talk about, personal experience, but really the definition from the Mayo Clinic. Dyslexia is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to the letters and words. So, when did you first discover that you had dyslexia?
I was diagnosed when I was in primary school. So it was towards the end of primary school, so about the age of 11.
Okay.
And yeah, I always remember when I got diagnosed, a friend of mine also got diagnosed at the same time.
Oh,
And it was still relatively new to be diagnosed. And we were both told at that point that we were too old to be helped. And
oh, well,
the
isn't that
I
nice?
Yeah, it's great. It's like, yeah, you're too old now, sorry. I don't think that they meant that we were too old to ever like be able to manage, but just that the school had limited resources and they were focusing those resources on the younger classes of kiddie bins.
Okay.
I
I
think
mean,
that's what they meant. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
it does make sense as not nice sounding as that is. It does make sense. Because especially like you said, you were kind of it was kind of newer ish, right? So it's like, where do we focus? How do we do this? How do we
Mm.
decide? And schools, they tend to have X amount of money to use
Yeah.
for these things, right? So how did you like before you got diagnosed, how was things?
Oh, yeah. So
That
again,
good, eh?
oh yeah, they were great. I'm trying so hard to be I say optimistic, but optimistic means looking forward. I'm trying so hard to be kind. Um, yeah, they weren't great though. I was labeled as lazy, which is a really fun thing to tell a kid when they're actively struggling, like they're trying their hardest and they can't do a thing, to have every like person in authority, like teachers and adults and whatnot, turn around and tell you that, yeah, you're just not trying hard enough. You could do this if you just tried. And it's like, "But I'm trying my hardest." Oh, yeah, you're just lazy. You're
So, for those
lazy.
listening, what I'm hearing is don't
Mm.
just say they're lazy, actually find out what's going on.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I was told I was lazy. I was told I had too much carry on in me, which is a polite way of saying I asked about too much. I had
Oh,
like
okay.
too much personality. I was a handful, I guess, as a child.
Mm,
So I
yes.
I was loud. I never shut up. I still don't shut up. So
Me neither. It's
yes.
totally fine. It's good. So then what kind of spurred the diagnosis process?
I don't know. I'm too old to remember that far back in my life. I just remember the conversation afterwards. I don't even know how they diagnosed me. I mean, obviously I was there.
Yes,
If
yeah.
they did like a test, like a little paper exam, or maybe they just observed for a little while. I'm not entirely certain. I genuinely don't remember. I just remember myself, my friend, and I think there might have been one or two other kiddies from other classes, and we were taken into an office with one of the teachers. It might even have been the head teacher, and
Okay.
we were told, yeah, so turns out you're not delinquents. It turns out you might actually have a bit of a problem.
Okay. So then after you got diagnosed, what kind of, and obviously you've already said the school was like, "Pff, we can't help you."
The
But
primary school was, yeah.
yeah, but so what supports did you find over the years?
Cool. So sorry, I keep giggling so much because I'm trying to find like nice ways to phrase this. I actually had a bad experience with supports. I
It's
did later
okay to
on.
give your bad experiences and you don't have to sugarcoat them.
Cool, awesome. I won't then.
Yeah.
But just before I go into like all of my nonsense, my I did meet a friend in university, one of my housemates, who had the diagnosis around about the same time as myself, and she had a brilliant experience. So there
Oh,
is good
good.
support out there, and there was back then, and it's even better now.
Good.
But yeah, when I was diagnosed and I went up to secondary school, I remember being taken into the special class for special children and sat at a very, very small table. As in, like, I was about 12 years old at this time, and I was sat at the kind of tables you'd get in, I think you have kindergarten over there. We have like play school in the UK.
Yeah, kindergarten.
Yeah, so it
2
was like
years of it, in fact.
such fun. But yeah, so they sat me at like a kindergarten table, and the teacher came over and asked me if I would like to use the blue paper and the big pencil. And I know now that different colored papers and desktop backgrounds do help a lot of people with dyslexia.
Really?
They really do.
Oh,
Light colored backgrounds, not white, but light colored with a dark font is fantastic. If you give like a really dark background with a bright font, it can sometimes be harder for people to read.
okay.
But it's not every dyslexic person's experience, and everyone's a little bit different. But yeah,
Yes.
so again, now with more knowledge myself, I understand why they asked me if I wanted different color paper. I still to this day do not know why they asked me if I wanted the big pencil, like the kind that you'd have to use like two hands to use.
Oh, it's like a giant
Yeah,
pencil.
it was massive.
I was just
I
picturing
was like,
like a big pencil where, like,
no,
it'd be hard to hold, but, like, a
it was
two-handed
huge.
pencil?
I could like just about get my fingers around it. I couldn't like close my
Uh,
fist. It was like, I don't understand what's going on. This is weird, but it made me feel really, really patronized. They spoke to me as if I had a learning disability rather than a learning difficulty, and like a severe learning disability.
Yeah.
And I never went back after that experience.
Shocking.
I stayed far away. Because I remember when I went into the special children's classroom, I went with the idea of saying like, could somebody just proofread my homework for me? Because I was
Yeah.
always getting marked down because my homework was appallingly spelled. Thank God for word processors. Seriously. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember sitting there and doing homework and always being like, "Mom, how do I spell?" And she was like my dictionary all the time,
oh
and
God, yeah.
I understand now why she would get frustrated with me because my kid does that to me now, and I'm like, "This is so annoying." But it's so much easier to just say, "Mom, how do I spell?"
Yeah, my parents actually got me a really wee little gizmo. It was really small, and it was just a keypad and a tiny screen, and you'd put the word in the way you thought it was going to be spelled, and it would give you like, yeah, that's completely wrong, and it would give you variations like, did you mean this, did you mean that? It was a
Ah,
really, really old style spell checker. This is
that's
like
pretty
before people
cool.
had computers in their houses, so
But that is very cool, and
it
that's
was
really
amazing.
nice of them
Mm.
to have got that. That must have made things at least a little bit easier.
Oh god, yeah, and as long as the machine had like a rough idea what I wanted.
Well, that's the same with spell check now, right? Is
Yeah.
that you have to have a general idea. Like sometimes I spell words so wrong that I'm like, you don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The joy now,
Google's
though.
brilliant.
That's what I was gonna say. The joy now is I'm just like, I'll go into Google and explain the word I'm looking for, and it will then give me my word because clearly I am way off base was trying to spell it.
Yeah, and Google's actually a really good spell checker.
Yeah.
It's the
Thanks,
one that
Google.
gets me every time when like all my other spell checkers fail me. Google is the one that's like, I know what you mean, love. I got you covered.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Google. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we've talked kind of about the bad experiences, let's talk about some of the good stuff. So we talked about well, colored paper, which is kind of interesting. I did not know that.
Mm.
The spell check thing is awesome. But what else have you discovered over the years?
That I'm unbelievably grateful for modern technology. I've often said that if I'd have been born a little while before I was, when we still use things like typewriters and like just paper and pencils,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got the education I got. I'd never have made it in university. I'd never have been able to sit an exam. I'd never have gotten my job, basically. I wouldn't be where I am today. I certainly wouldn't be writing books.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because word processors, things like Microsoft Word has like been absolutely phenomenal. There's a brilliant bit of software that most people with dyslexia will be aware of, and that's Dragon software. And
I
that's a
have heard
dictation.
of that. Yes. So tell everyone else, but yes, I've heard of it.
Oh, yeah, Dragon's the one that I was given at work because access to work, people, it's fantastic. It's where your employer gives you software to help you do your job when you have disabilities and whatnot. It's
We have
fantastic.
legislation in place in Canada too for things like that. Our
See?
Accessibility Ontario Disability Act.
It's wicked sick. It's great. It's a lovely bit of equity just lifting everybody up so we can all get to the same end point. It is
Yeah.
fantastic. I am all for it.
And actually, before you tell us what Dragon software is, I love how you said that because a couple things. So you're talking about, if you were born, say, 15 years earlier or 20 years earlier, right? Then you wouldn't have been able to go to university, get the education, have the job that you are. But you are a very intelligent person. I mean, this is the second time I've interviewed you. I have read your book, A Man in Winter, loved it. So I know that you are a very intelligent and capable person. And to think that, if you were just born a decade or two earlier, you wouldn't have gotten to use all the skills that you actually do have.
It's utterly tragic to think of the amount of people who could have, like, it sounds very dramatic, but they could have benefited society as a whole and they just never got that shot because, like, yeah, you just can't. You can't
Yeah,
read, you can't spell, you get weirded out by noise. It's like, yeah, no room for you. Go away.
right? Exactly. So it's so nice to hear that, we're coming to a point that people are getting access to what they need in order to be productive because
Mm,
and we were just talking about this at my part-time job earlier that most of us want to be productive, like
mm,
we don't want to just sit and do nothing, but if you're not given the tools to help you, then how can you, right?
yeah,
As much as you want to, if there's that difficulty, then how do you overcome it without support? And that's why I'm always talking on all the shows, that's why we have to give support, and support looks different for each person.
very much so, very much so. But like you say, there's a point where frustration just builds and builds and builds, and then where does it go after that? There's a point where it just like you flatline with it, and you're like, fine, I give up, and
Right? Exactly.
I don't even want to think about what that would look like. It's so sad.
Yeah. So anyways, back on track.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
us what about Dragon Software.
With Dragon is the brand that I come across the most often, but there are other kinds as well. Back in my legal profession days, I had a dictaphone and I could
Oh,
dictate.
yes.
And that's basically what Dragon software is. It's a dictation software. So you talk into the microphone or a little headset like this lovely little snazzy one I've got here, and the words appear on the screen. And it's amazing and it's really, really cool. I also have a little it looks like a highlighter. I should have had it to hand, but I don't because I'm so well prepared. But it looks like a wee highlighter and you run it across the page of a book and it speaks the words to you.
That's
It
the one that
reads
I've
for
seen.
you. Yes.
That's the one that I've seen. I didn't know that there was like a dictaphone type of one.
Mm.
Even though so I do know about Google Read and Write. That's the one that they had my kid
Yeah.
using in grade 8, grade 7, something like that. Anyways, they were using that one. The problem that we found with that one was because his speech wasn't very clear, it
Hmm.
didn't really help him, and it actually just frustrated him more because it wasn't understanding what he was saying to get those words on the paper anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's.
I do. So do you use that one, the highlighty pen one, to read out to you?
I don't use it very much. I use it occasionally. I read fine. I just read slow.
That's all
My
right.
partner and I read before we go to bed at night, and he'll finish a book in like 10 seconds, and I'm there like 2 weeks later with like my tiny novella still going at it.
You know
I get through
what?
like a chapter a night.
It's fine as long as you're reading.
This is it.
As far as I know, don't have dyslexia. My husband still reads crazy faster than
Mm,
I do. So, I mean, who cares? As long as you're reading and enjoying it. That's the key, that
yes.
you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it drives me nuts sometimes though. Like we'll go somewhere and I'll be like, oh, look, there's a sign saying what we need. And I'll stop and stare at the sign and be like, I'm going to read
Right.
this sign. And then he's like, yeah, read it. Boom, let's go. It's this way. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? What?
Yeah, my
How
husband
could
is
you
the
do that?
exact same way, and it's so frustrating. So I got you on that one on
Yeah,
the
I tend
slow
to just
reading
follow
part,
him. I was like, he knows where we're going. He'll find the
right?
signs. It's okay. He'll
Yep.
read the
Or
words.
girl, just be like, give me the Cliff's notes of that, please. Just, tell me. Because he loves, like, when we go to the zoo, he'll read every sign on all the animals.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, just tell me the Cliff's notes of that,
See,
please.
if we did that when I was there, we'd be at the zoo for like a week. It would take me so long.
But you know what? Again, it's all about enjoying what you do. And I know
This is
that you
it.
enjoy reading. I know that you enjoy writing. So that's okay.
Very, very much. But
So
yeah. So I was saying
why?
about like the software you can get that reads effectively for you. Things like Microsoft Word have a read aloud function, and I find that so helpful if I've say written a page and or an email, for example, and I type it out in Word first, and I'm like, oh, I keep rereading and rereading this, and I'm not certain about it, and I'll use the read aloud function to read my email, and I'll spot every single mistake. It's so good at that,
Well, that's
but
a great idea.
it's really cool. But again, dyslexia is more than just reading and writing. There are other issues as well. I personally really struggle with memory. My memory
Mm,
is really crap, quite frankly. I've often called myself an ood, which is a creature in Doctor Who. It's a little alien creature. It has a brain in its head and it has another brain in its hand. So I sit here with my phone and I'm like, I'm an ood. This is my brain. Every time someone says, Kate, we've got to remember and do this, I'm like, right, let me put it in my phone and it will tell me because my memory's atrocious.
Me too, actually. Everything is in my phone. It's even my calendar is color coded too.
Yep, likewise, color codes really, really help. They absolutely help because things pop out and you're like, okay, I know this is a thing I have to do rather than just
Right.
like a reminder.
Exactly. I've got my red, which is like work stuff. Like
Mm,
the show goes in a certain color, or like if it's a kid's appointment, they have a different
yeah,
color. Yeah, it's important to do that.
this is it. I am exactly the same.
Okay.
Sound, though, is also a thing that can, for want of a better phrase, bugger us up a little bit. I found work when before COVID and we were all working in the office, a noisy office, I just I really struggle. I'm not
Mm,
as bad. I've seen some people who really struggle. Like
yeah.
they can't function in a loud, noisy environment. I find that if the louder it is, the slower my thinking process is.
Okay. Yeah.
Noise cancelling headphones. Godsend.
Yes. See, I like not totally silent, but also when it's like an office and you have all these conversations, that's not
Mm,
good either. So I
no,
like I do headphones. It doesn't necessarily have to be the noise canceling, but headphones with some quiet music just to
yep,
drown out conversation.
this
And it
is it.
helps me to focus. Because if it's too quiet, then my brain starts having its own conversation.
Yes.
And
It starts talking utter bollocks, and it's like, oh, brain, why? Why? We're just trying to write an email. Why?
right?
Seriously.
Exactly.
But yes, yeah, I do exactly the same thing. I would sit in the office with my headphones in back when I had my little earbuds,
Yes.
and I'd be sitting, or like not earbuds, but like wired earbuds,
Yeah.
ye old earbuds. I'd be sitting there with like just some quiet music on in the background, and I'd get so much done. And then if I took them off, like my boss would be like, "Don't be sitting with your headphones on at work." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool, fine."
I used to get that at school
Nothing
all the
gets done.
time. And like back then, yeah, you had the wired headphones. So it was really hard to hide them from teachers. And not to mention that, but I mean, back then I had a like a CD Walkman. So I mean,
Oh
it wasn't
God,
so easy
yeah.
that you can just hide it in your pocket. Like these suckers are like pretty big.
Yeah, and you
And
can't. Women's clothes have no pockets, so
right?
where do I put the CD player? And then
Right?
it gets
How am I
jiggled
hiding
and it
this from my
skips.
teacher?
Yeah,
Right?
you're
Exactly.
not, man.
No, not at all. So that was really hard because the teacher, yeah, they'd be like, take your headphones out, don't listen to music. And it's like, but this is actually what's helping me to focus and not be
Yeah,
talking and interrupting you.
exactly, exactly. This is, and that's one of the things that I've. Yeah, thanks, Mimi. Go away.
Kitty! No, hello. Oh, bye.
Horrible kitty. She's all wet. She's been outside and it's been raining today.
Oh,
So
yeah. I've kicked mine out too, but they're just so fluffy. I love them.
she is very cute. She's probably going to start squeaking at me for treats. I swear, the minute I put my headset on, they're like, "Okay, right, yeah."
Because it's
They
time.
don't know that I'm in a meeting because I don't think they have a concept of what that is. But they
Yeah.
recognize the headset and they're like, "If I make a noise, she'll bribe me
I
and
love it.
throw
They're
dreamies all
so
over the
smart.
floor."
They are so
Yeah,
smart.
it's annoying.
So what has been your favorite tool? Whether it's one that you've
Oh
said or one that you
no.
haven't said, what has been your favorite? I know, I'm sorry. I'm
Got to pick
sorry.
one. Gosh. Cool. So hello Mimi again. My favorite, don't be drinking my water. My favorite tool is probably the read aloud function, because it helps me spot my mistakes that I would never have spotted otherwise. It helps me read things so quickly. If I find something online and I just copy paste it into Word, boom. And I know a lot of search engines do have a read aloud function of their own now,
Yes, my
which
kid
is
has been
really
using that a
helpful.
lot for schoolwork because, yeah, it would take him much longer to read something. And
Mm.
sometimes mom's just not there to read it very quickly for him.
Yeah, and I absorb information as sound so much better than I do when it's written because I can take notes. And for some reason, if someone's talking to me, I will struggle to remember what it is they've said. But if they're
Unless you
talking to
write
me
it
and I'm
down.
writing it down, then it
Yes.
cements.
Yes. 100% yes. And if there's something about like for note taking, physically writing it down, at least for
Yeah.
me, because like in college, so many people they'd bring their laptop or whatever and take notes with their little typey type. I could have done that, but it didn't help me the same way actually
No.
physically writing it out did.
Plus, you get to buy pretty notebooks.
And fancy pens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gives me an
Yeah.
excuse to buy all the stationery.
And then color code things with highlighters.
Oh God, yes. See, that was how I used to do all of my revision. I would take notes in class and then I would go home and read my notes and color code the highlights and things would really stick.
Exactly. And then when I would study, I would handwrite out like questions on
Mm,
like the little cards. You write the question, then on the back, you write the answer. And by the time I had finished writing everything out like 3 times, I had
yeah.
already memorized it all.
It's in there. It's not going anywhere, that's for
Right?
sure.
It's great. So that is an awesome tool. And so where if somebody's listening, they're like, I want to try that tool. How do they go about getting it or trying it?
If you've got Microsoft Office, it's already in Word.
But is there a special button that they have to press in there?
You
Because like I have
can
no idea.
you can set it so that it goes into your toolbar. It's in my toolbar forever, so it becomes like a little auto button. But if you
Okay.
go into like your help function, it'll let you search and you just type read aloud and you'll get the read aloud function. It's got different voices and you can set their speed. It's so cool.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
really into the read aloud function in Word.
That is
So
amazing.
helpful.
I like that. Um, we're gonna try something here because, as everyone watching should know, this is the first time for us to be going live. So I'm going to attempt a little screen share thing here if I can get it to do what I want it to do.
Go technology.
I know,
You can do it.
and
I believe in you. Toad's got this.
I hope so. I hope so. Except it. Let's see. Okay, so
Look at this. I can see myself.
Okay. Can you see my word now? Because now I can't see you. Okay. Excellent. So I did what you said for everyone. I went to the little help thing. I typed in read aloud, and look, it's just all right there. Listen to your Word documents. You speak text to speech. Look at all this. So it really is that easy that you just jump on your help, jump over here, and look, I'm very I'm promoting my new kids book that's coming out. See these words over here? It's a new kids book coming out. No.
Super
So
mysterious.
this was awesome. It was so easy to find. So I wanted to share that
Yeah,
so that everybody can see how easy it really was to
yes.
find it, because that can
It's
be one of the most frustrating parts.
oh god, yeah. I hate it when people talk about, oh, I've had this really fantastic piece of tech and it's like changed my life. And I'm like, well, where is it?
Right?
Show
Yeah,
me, Kate.
that's how it was when the school was telling us that he was using the Google Read and Write at school. I could not get it on his computer, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm clicking the button, it's not working. So it was just so frustrating.
Yes.
But that's okay. But I am glad to know about the read aloud in Word, because I didn't know that it had that. So that's really going to help him. I'm
Yep.
going to share that with him too.
Totes does. And all
So,
search engines, as far as I'm aware, I'm not familiar with every single search engine in the world ever, or not search engine, but like Internet Explorer type thing, Google
yes,
Chrome, Microsoft, whatever. They all have read aloud functions as well. If you go in the settings,
that
you
is
can get
amazing.
read aloud. It's really cool.
Yes, perfect.
Read me the words.
So we've talked a lot longer than I had intended before I asked you this part, but I mean, we've kind of already covered this, but let's quickly cover it. I'm a talker. This is why, like, Write or Die was supposed to be a half an hour show, and then it's like usually 45 minutes to an hour. Trying to keep this one to half an hour. It's not going to work, at least this time, but that's okay.
I never shut up.
I know, me neither is the problem. But for everyone's listening, you have dyslexia. We know that. You're awesome. We know that. So, right? Exactly. So, even though you have this, and I like how you said it, a difficulty, not a disability. I loved the way you said that. It's difficulty. You have managed to write how many books now?
Some. Um, about 4 books and double-digit short stories. So
There you
yeah,
go. So 4
I have a
books
spreadsheet.
plus. There you go. And I know for certain that one of them is amazing. I'm sure the other ones are too, but I've
Thank you.
had the pleasure of reading the other one. So everyone, go check out the review. Um, and it doesn't seem to stop you at all.
No, no. I'm a stubborn creature. And the more people tell me I can't do something, the more I want to do it, mostly just because there's a very petty part of me that's like, I'm going to do it just so I can stick it in your face.
You know what?
And yeah,
Sometimes that works.
it's very productive.
It can
I
be,
do a
yeah.
lot of things powered by my hatred and my rage. It's a useful fuel and it's like
Fun,
renewable as well.
funny story, totally off topic, and this
Go
is
for
the
it.
problem with me trying to keep it to a certain amount of time. So my husband and I, we just had our 11-year anniversary, wedding anniversary. And so he went, thank you. He went to the
Oh,
jewelry store to get me a present. And he's looking at these earrings, at this bracelet, and he's trying to figure out, which one would I wear more? Because I don't tend to wear a lot of bracelets, too much, but earrings, I love earrings. So he's looking, and the lady at the store said, well, we do have things in that are less expensive. And we have been super broke before. We have been needing to go to the food bank kind of broke before. So my husband was kind of offended that she said that to him, because he's worked very, very hard
mm.
to get out of that. So I ended up with 2 pairs of earrings because he's so petty. And I was like, well, you know what? Kind of worked
Now
out in my
you've got
favor. And
more
these
earrings.
are one of the pairs right here.
Oh,
They're very beautiful.
they're so pretty.
So just a funny story, kind of off topic, a little bit on topic because it was about pettiness.
I was gonna say it's cool. It makes me feel less alone in like my childishness. It's cool.
I thought it might. That's why I wanted to share with you.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
so where do people follow you if they want to stay up to date with all of your amazingness?
Well, I have a lovely website. I like to hope it's lovely. I think it's lovely. It is. It's lovely. And it's running along the bottom of the screen now. That's katiemariewriter.com. And there is a trend. Katie Marie Writer is where you, or how you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not as active on Instagram as the other places, but I am still there. I do check it regularly. So if you send me a message on there, I would definitely see it. What are the other social medias? There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, I think that's it.
I
I
love it.
haven't got on Threads yet.
I've only just started hearing about that, but I heard it's kind of like a Twitter-y type of thing.
I think it's oh gosh, the Facebook chappie, Zuckerberg. I think it's his pop-up Musk
Oh, okay.
or
Yeah.
Musk, whatever his name is, Elon, the car guy who bought Twitter.
Yeah, Elon, that one.
That jackass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all jackass. Anybody with like a certain amount of money automatically becomes a jackass. It's
Oh,
just one of
that's
the
fun.
things that you buy with all of the money you've got is the
It's
right
true.
to be a
It's
jackass.
very true. Um, so any last words before we say goodbye?
Awesome. I always love last words. She says, suddenly going completely mind blank. Empathy is really important. Compassion. When somebody seems to be struggling, try your hardest not to make an assumption about why they're struggling. You don't know their story, you don't know what's going on. For someone you might think is just being a bone idle jerk, they could be really struggling, they could be trying really hard, but just not able to get up there today. And you don't always know why that is. And it's not always like a neurodiversity issue. It could be an emotional issue. It could just be they were really tired today. So yeah, kindness, patience, and compassion.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. I really look forward to having you back again because I am sure you'll be back again on one of these many shows. So thank you everybody for joining us on our neurodiverse world. Be sure to check out the other shows that RB Media is putting together. You know, they're on the little ticker down there. Reader's Intrigue that comes out every other Sunday. Write or Die Show will be live tomorrow morning with Duncan. Sorry, I can't remember the last name off the top of my head, but it will be amazing. What I'm Reading comes out on Fridays. Those are the book reviews. And that is where the podcast that you will find the book review of Katie Marie's A Man in Winter, which again, loved it. So I think you should go check it out, as well as her interview on the Write or Die Show.